About, as I mentioned, about the environment, about social impact around those areas, but most importantly about celebrating our country and what we stand for. Because I've always believed that, especially the younger musicians in India, we always feel that to get international recognition, one has to, create music in English, one has to create Western music, which is actually not true, because the musicians who have actually gotten international accolades all over the world, people like Pandit Ravi Shankar, people like Pandit Vishwamohan Bhatt, people like Anushka Shankar or Ustad Zakir Hussain. These are the people who have actually broken cultural barriers and gotten accolades all over the world, and these are musicians who have dug deep into their roots and made music based on what makes them uniquely Indian, and I think that's going to be really important for us to understand. So now coming to what we are going to be presenting today, every country has got a national anthem. Every country has got a national anthem, and every country is recognized by that particular national anthem and that piece of music, and that is the power of music. But at the same time, most countries, their national anthems are a little controversial, or some people like it, some people don't like it, or some political party creates some problems about the national anthem and says that this is not what is representing our country. Whereas India is very different, where the national anthem is the most revered piece of music that we have. Across political ideologies, philosophies, backgrounds, cultures, traditions, language barriers, geographic location, everybody in India absolutely love our national anthem. And again, when the first few notes of the national anthem is played, everybody feels a very, very strong sense of patriotism and love for our country and pride for our country. And I'm no different being an Indian. In fact, the first piece of music that I ever learned as a human being is basically the Indian national anthem, before I even learned nursery rhymes or before I learned lullabies. So the anthem and the music is completely in my blood, and it's something that I absolutely love with all my heart. It's a piece of music that is my favorite piece of music in the whole world. I've had a professional career in music for the last 24 years. In these 24 years, I've created 3 versions of the national anthem in the past. So one I created was for the COP21, that is the climate change conference which happened in Paris in 2015. So the Paris Climate Change Conference, or the COP21, was the largest conference of nations from all over the world. 195 countries coming together, that is world leaders, presidents and prime ministers from 195 countries coming together to try to understand what climate change is and how to mitigate the effects of climate change and create a future that is better for our future generations. So over there I created a version of the national anthem which is dedicated to the forests and wildlife of India, because I believe that all of us believe that India is much more than just human beings. India is defined by our forests and wildlife. Our beauty is defined by our forests and wildlife. Our sustainability is defined by beautiful forests and wildlife. And in fact, we are their new home. And some of these refugees are fantastic musicians. And some of them have been forced to leave their country because they are musicians. Sometimes they've left on the threat of death or under dire circumstances, just with the clothes on their back. They've had to leave the country, and India has been a very welcoming home for them. So along with the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, that is the UN Refugees Organization, I created a version of the national anthem where I sang the national anthem along with 12 refugees from Sri Lanka, from Myanmar, from Afghanistan, and from Cameroon. Fantastic singers. We created a version of the national anthem, and that national anthem was very successful last year, that version of the national anthem. This year, I've gone on to doing something very, very special, and it's absolutely epic. It's the biggest version of the national anthem that I've ever created. So what I did was that I've collaborated with the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra in London many times. In fact, my Grammy-winning albums has got the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra, featured in it. And this time what I did was that I collaborated with the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra at Abbey Road Studios. And this time, normally the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra is 75-piece or 65-piece. This time we went with a 100-piece orchestra. So this is, and I conducted the orchestra as a conductor, and we performed the Indian national anthem. And so it's the biggest symphony orchestra ever to record the Indian national anthem. So that is how amazing this is. And of course, it is a British orchestra. So it's got an added story that that the British have ruled us for almost 200 years, and now it's an Indian person conducting their most in-demand orchestra, that is the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra, and a 100-piece orchestra at the most legendary studios, that is Abbey Road Studios, which is the most legendary studio and the most iconic studio in the whole world, and performing the Indian national anthem. So it gave me a lot of pride, it gave me a lot of humility to actually conduct this particular orchestra and get them to perform the Indian national anthem. So the planning of this has been about, it's not been very long, it's been about 3 months. So 3 months back is when I got the idea that we should be doing this and I should be doing this, and that is when I approached the orchestra and and came up with a score, because it's very difficult to come up with that score because every musician needs a sheet in front of them, of what to play. So to write that score and to come up with it where everything comes together beautifully, because until the orchestra plays it, you do not know how it's going to sound, with all these musicians together. So that took a while for me to actually write it and to understand that this is going to sound good. And then the experience of hearing the orchestra playing it to you is an experience which is unparalleled, because you're in that room and the orchestra is playing your music back to you, whatever you've written. They're playing it back to you. That is like there is no words to describe how amazing it feels to listen to 100 people playing it back to you in the same room. So that was so it was 3 months to answer your question. The second thing about reaching to the grassroots, one thing is one way that I've answered it is that it's free for all. So anybody can use it for whatever purposes they want. And of course, I need the support of the press, because at the end of the day, traditional media is what is most important when it comes to television and print media, where to get out to as many people as possible. Everybody's got mobile phones, so sharing it on WhatsApp and all of that stuff, because there's no restrictions for it, so anybody can share it however they want. So I'm just hoping that organically it reaches every single person. So I just need help with that, because as I said, there was no other entity involved in this. So the thing is that so it's not like there is a major record label like a T-Series or anybody involved in it where where they can help me spread it out. So it has to be organic, that's all. So I just need everybody's support for that.
Ricky, your center, Rahul here from the Filmy Chacha. मेरा सवाल ये था कि अगर कोई सोचता है म्यूजिक इंडस्ट्री में आने के लिए, तो फिल्म इंडस्ट्री सबसे पहले जहन में आता है कि शॉर्टकट है फेम मिलने का, लाइमलाइट में आने का. तो आपके माइंड में ये चीज़ कल्चर की तरफ और नेशनल एंथम के तरफ कैसे रुक के आपने ये एक तरीके से रिस्क था या क्या था, क्या सोच के आपने?
I think good question. So I'm just wondering how to answer that. So that is true what you said, that the film industry gives you fame, that is there. Now the thing is that I've got a lot of friends who are in the film industry, like musicians, very, very good musicians, very close friends and very good composers. Some of them are the top composers. Now the thing is that every song that they make is either a love song or an item song. There are only 2 songs that predominantly that they are making. And these are people who speak about gender equality all the time, and they genuinely believe in it. They genuinely from the heart believe that, in gender equality, they believe in impacting society in a positive way and all of that stuff. But then sometimes they come up with an item song, which is objectifying women and, which is showcasing women as, as items, because that's the whole definition of an item song. And these things make me a little sad, because at the end of the day, music is an art form, okay? Now, if you look at I'm sorry I'm digressing, मैं थोड़ा सा explain करने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ. So if you look at an artist like Vincent van Gogh, जो is very, very popular artist and a contemporary artist, because he's not like an ancient artist. If he was making a new painting, अगर वो नया painting बनाना चाहता था, तो वो सारे neighboring art galleries नहीं जाएगा और देखेगा सब लोग क्या कर रहे हैं, मैं भी ऐसे ही करूँगा, जो क्या trend में है, ऐसे करेंगे and all that stuff. He would dig deep into his own soul and he would make a piece of art which is representative of him. And if I wanted to know what kind of a person Vincent van Gogh is in real life, I'm not going to read a book about him. मैं उनके सारे तस्वीरें देखूंगा and मैं judge करूंगा कि ये कैसा आदमी था. Tormented आदमी था, वो थोड़ा सा weird किस्म का आदमी था. I'll judge his paintings and I'll do that. But right now, when it comes to musicians in India, everybody's dream is that as soon as I become a musician, मुझे Bollywood करना है. मैं जब बोलता हूँ लोगों को कि मैं composer हूँ, first question पूछते हैं कौन सा film? तो ये इंडिया में है. And that is why all the music in India is basically, or not all, but most of the music in India is basically either a love song or an item song. And कभी-कभी मैं सोचता हूँ कि ये जो बहुत अच्छे composers हैं, बहुत अच्छे human beings हैं, genuinely they are very, very good people. They are not listening to their own music. they're not the kind of people who will sit down at home and listen to their own music. You know, because they're not the kind of people who will listen to an item song, you know. So that has, I feel that in some way that has to change. And for me, the reason why a lot of people ask me that, "Arey, thoda sa fame aa jayega, you know, if you do Bollywood, and then your songs also will get uplifted." But I do not believe that. Because many times, like, if you look at a composer like Vishal Dadlani, okay, Vishal, a very good friend of mine, a fantastic human being, a really, really good person. So, and I've known him for the last 23, 24 years. Now, he does Bollywood music, but Bollywood music is far more popular than his pentagram music or his music that he does from the heart, which is all about social messages. People know him only that. And if he performs his pentagram music, people in the audience shout that, "Sheila ki jawani karo," you know, "Ye sab karo," you know. So basically what I'm trying to say is that I would rather be very less known for songs that define me as a person, rather than being extremely well known for songs that do not define me as a person. So that's it.